The lip smacking. Honestly, it drives me nuts. It drives me so crazy. Hi there, welcome back to Tuesday Tip. I'm Brenda with Caregivers Collective. Over the last 2 episodes, we've talked about the emotional and the financial reality of caregiving and about how to find and hire a respite caregiver. But today, I want to dive a little deeper into what the day-to-day reality looks like to live with someone who has dementia. This isn't the clinical version, it's not the textbook version. This is the version that is true for us in our home, in the living room, at the dining table, etc. My dad's been living now with dementia for several years, and in that time I've learned many different things about him, about the disease, and honestly about myself, and things I wish someone had told me from the beginning. That's what today is about. So let me give you a few specific examples from our home. So my dad asks the same question within not even 30 seconds. Sometimes it's 10 seconds. Sometimes it's, what time is it? And sometimes it's about what we're having for dinner. He'll forget where his bedroom is. Either way, the question doesn't really matter. It's that he's forgotten that he asked it already. And in the beginning, I would respond with something like, I just told you it's 12:30 p.m. Don't you remember? And I really cringe thinking about those moments where I've responded in a frustrated way, because it's not him, right? He doesn't want to be asking the same question over and over again. All I was doing was shaming him for asking the question, and it's completely out of his control, you know? And there's a part of me that feels guilty even now saying it out loud to you about how I would respond. That's its own, weight to carry. It's its own thing to kind of deal with. What I do now is just answer the question, right? Every time, just calmly, matter-of-factly, it's 12:30 p.m. And I know he's going to ask it again. Not always, not every single time, but I know he's going to ask the same question again. So I have to remind myself, he's going to ask it again. Just answer the question. Simply, directly, done. And honestly, once I made that shift, we just got through those moments so much faster. The frustration is still there because I'm human, but I don't let my frustration land on him anymore. Memory loss is a part of dementia that most people talk about, but there's another side to the disease that doesn't get talked about as much, and it's a repetitive behavior. And I'm just gonna keep it real right here. In some ways, those are a lot harder to manage for me because there's nothing to do about it. Yes, I can answer the question over and over again. I'm gonna give you the example right now. My dad rubs his hands together like this, like he's washing them over and over again, and he'll kind of go like this. We'll just be watching TV and he's doing that over and over and over again. It doesn't go on forever, but even just a few minutes, sometimes, it's distracting. The other thing he does is this lip smacking thing. And I just want to be clear, I am not here to, make my dad feel badly or something. I feel like I can already see it in the comments. I'm literally talking to you, the caregiver, who is taking on this role of caring for your loved one. And I want to prepare you for these potential behaviors. Back to what we're experiencing at home, the lip smacking. Honestly, it drives me nuts. It drives me so crazy. There's nothing to do about it. There's literally nothing to do about it. So what do? I take a really deep breath. I close my eyes. Sometimes I'll put AirPods in my ears. Literally, I'm not kidding. We're watching TV, but he's doing the lip smacking. So AirPods go in. Or there's times when I just literally leave the room. I make sure that he's safe. If my husband is there, if we're all watching TV, it's easier for me to step away. And I'll just go into another room and take some deep breaths. Caregiving really comes down to those moments where you're having a human response and you just have to take a step back and know that, right, it's not It's not him. He's not intentionally smacking his lips. He's not intentionally rubbing his hands over and over again. It's the disease. And the only thing I can control is how I respond to it. I also want to be very clear, and I'm talking to you. Do not feel guilty for feeling frustrated or, sometimes angry or annoyed. You're human, okay? If the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be annoyed with you too. Honestly, that's how I see it. So do not feel guilty for having these very basic human emotions around these behaviors. You're not a bad caregiver. I feel very fortunate that these behaviors have not included, aggression or agitation. And I think that's a big part of the reason why we are still able to care for him at home. If that should change, then we're going to have to revisit. My dad has always been a quiet guy. That part hasn't changed. He doesn't like to fuss about anything. He's just the least pickiest eater I've ever met. He knew how to lay tile, in a bathroom, some light carpentry, that kind of thing. He's just very kind of self-contained and doesn't make a fuss about anything. Why am I telling you this? Because I want to give you some perspective on who he was before his dementia diagnosis, and to see him now not be able to do any of that really sucks. I mean, it's its own mini heartbreak, especially, God damn it, especially when he really wants to help in the house. Like he wants to sweep the floor because he's a fall risk. He can't. He used to be able to when he first moved in. The last year or so, like the last year, he hasn't been able to do that because I'm worried that he's gonna fall, break a hip, and then it's game over. For a long time, I would give him the clean laundry to fold, and that he can more or less do that. I don't give him laundry to fold as often because he inevitably wants to stand up. And the last time that he was standing up folding laundry, it looked like he was going down. So we're trying to avoid that. But yeah, watching someone who really wants to be part of the household and help out, and then having to tell them that they can't, or make up some little white lie about, I'll let you know next time I sweep the floor. That is its own little quiet grief and little heartbreak that really sucks. People talk about role reversal of caring for a parent like it's a single moment, and then you wake up one day and it's backwards, right? You're taking care of them when they took care of you as a kid. For me, it didn't quite happen like that. I'm first generation Latina born here in the United States. He immigrated from Mexico back in the 60s, and my mom immigrated from El Salvador in the 70s. So there was always, because I'm first generation, there's always been this degree of role reversal in a way, because I would, there was translating going on. I was helping him interpret certain paperwork or navigating certain systems like, the internet. I grew up in the 90s, 80s, 90s. So that's always been part of our dynamic in a way. The real shift, though, when it was really cemented in my head that the role reversal was for sure happening, was when he started becoming incontinent. And, cleaning, we don't have to get into the specifics. I know you can kind of understand where I'm going here. So having to change him and bathe him, then it really became obvious of, okay, this is different. This isn't just me, interpreting a document from the bank or whatever for you. I am literally now washing your body in the shower, and, privacy be damned. We're just, I'm there to help keep him clean and all of that. This is probably the most important chapter, I would say, of today's episode, because I think a lot of caregivers exhaust themselves. I know I have and did and have sometimes, trying to correct or redirect these little behaviors and manage every single thing that dementia does. And what I've learned slowly, very slowly, and sometimes the hard way, is that some things are not worth the battle. Like they're just not. Here's an example. My dad, when we're at the dinner table, my dad, my daughter has set the table, knife and fork. He still reaches for the napkin to pick up his food, right? The knife is right in front of him, he completely ignores it. I used to correct him and be like, Dad, get the fork, I'd say it in Spanish. Dad, there's the fork, use your knife and fork, and I'd pick it up for him and do it. And now, I want to also enjoy my meal, and not everyone at the table needs to hear me making the correction. And he's not hurting anyone if he's trying to pick up his food with the napkin and the fork instead of the knife and fork, right? He's not hurting anyone. So I just let it go. Just let it go. It's not worth me correcting him, and it's not worth me maybe potentially embarrassing him in front of my daughter and my husband or whoever. Who cares? Where I come down on it now is he in danger? Is he hurting himself or someone else? Is he about to damage something, right? Those are if those are a no, we're moving on. We're moving on. I'm moving on. He's moving on. The whole household is moving on. And we're just going to get through the day. I don't want to leave you with only the hard parts about living with someone who has dementia, because there are also tender moments, and they matter just as much. My dad says thank you every single time we're done with an incontinence, like a brief change or anything, or after a shower, although I have to admit the showers are few and far between because of his fall risk. And the part that really gets me is after a shower or like a nail trim, or sometimes when I trim his beard, he will say, oh, make sure you charge my account, right? It's a little thing. And I hang on to those moments with everything because, he can't communicate that much. But that little thing of him just saying thank you and make sure to charge my account as if he were a customer, I mean, holy crap, When it first happened, I remember telling about the charging the account thing. I remember telling my husband, and I just broke down crying because in his limited capacity, he was still able to recognize what I'm doing for him, and he is able to appreciate that and communicate to me in his own way that he appreciates what I'm doing. And maybe your person is not able to. I can't speak to that, right? I can't speak to how difficult it must be caring for a loved one who literally maybe is not able to express themselves in some way, but they know. And I choose to believe that firmly. They know that you're showing up for them, and they love you for it, and they appreciate it. Another really sweet moment, I'm really going to try to keep it together here, is he recognizes my daughter. He's never forgotten her name. He says hi to her daily. They've never bonded the way I hoped that they would bond. And that's because of his limited capability in communicating. But every time she comes into the room, he says hi, or if she's already in the living room and we're coming out, he says hi to her. And yeah, and it's really sweet to watch him be amused by her. She's really silly. She's 9 years old, and loves to laugh, loves to joke with dad, with my husband, and he's amused by it. So it's very sweet to see him smile and laugh along when she's joking around with us. So here's today's tip, and it's less of a practical action item and more of a permission slip, if you will. Let go of what you cannot change. Save the energy for what you can. You can't stop the repeated questions. You can't, stop the repetitive behaviors. You can't, as much as I wish it were true, we can't bring back the person that we love before dementia changed things for them. What you can do is how you respond, what you correct, what you let go, and how you talk to yourself in the hard moments. Whether you're taking the 3 deep breaths or doing the AirPods or going into another room after you know that they're safe and comfortable and clean, give yourself the permission to do that, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. Dementia asks a lot of you, of us, family caregivers. It asks a lot of us. And actually, I want to expand on this because I know it's not just dementia, and I'm not just talking to family caregivers of dementia. There are millions of us caring for loved ones who have some limited capacity, whether maybe it's cancer or it's some other condition where our loved one is not able to fully live an independent life and you're a family member caring for them. That's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you who's doing the hard work day in and day out. Make sure you're spending the energy wisely. Before you go, if today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me one thing about caregiving for someone with dementia or any other condition that you wish someone had normalized for you. I genuinely read every single comment, and your answers help me decide what to cover next. New here, please subscribe. I have new episodes coming out every Tuesday. And if you're brand new to incontinence care and you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know what a booster pad is, all of that stuff, I'm linking my free incontinence guide in the description. Check it out. It covers everything you need to know about the basics. And with that, I'll see you next Tuesday.